Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders. Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders is available both in podcast, wherever you get great podcasts, and on our YouTube channel, Cooking Secrets for Men. So, this is Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders, and I'm pleased to have as my guest Genaro Baez.
Hey, Charlie.
Good to see you. Pleasure. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Genaro is the Director of HR Operations, Learning Development, and Talent Acquisition for Milwaukee County, which is where the city of Milwaukee resides. We'll get to that in just a minute. So a couple of housekeeping items. As you can see, we have a new logo. And give Genaro one of our aprons here. So it says down at the bottom, it says trying to make Milwaukee a better place, and then cooking with Milwaukee community leaders. So
Awesome.
That's for you.
Thank you.
So we'll start at the beginning, as we usually do. So you were born in New York.
I was.
Born and raised. So talk about your early years, your growing up years, and how that helped set the stage for the person you are today.
Absolutely. You know, growing up in New York, it's a kind of equivalent to like Game of Thrones. You have very distinct ethnic neighborhoods that you learn so much from. You know, everybody is a New Yorker to their core, but their ethnicity and their culture, it really defines them. Mm-hmm. So when you go down to Mulberry Street and you want a sfiadelle, or you want really good Italian food, it's there for you. If you want to go to Chinatown, just a little bit over, you have dim sum, and you have it the way it was made back in the old country. In all these ethnic enclaves, you have the ability to really travel the world on a plate. So I had gotten exposed to that, and then I had the good fortune of my mother being first a travel agent, and then working for Eastern Airlines. May they rest in peace.
Right, defunct.
But the beautiful thing about that is that you had unlimited flight benefit as an employee. You had to fly standby, but first class was really much more of a thing back then, and first class was typically 50% full.
Right.
So the majority of those travels were sitting in first class. And as a kid, by the time I was in my early 20s, I had been around the world. Wow. Go back to my toddler years, my mom on PBS loved Graham Kerr, the Galloping Gourmet, a British cook, and he dived deep in all these ethnic cuisines, I guess from the Empire, the former British Empire. Right. But here I was a little kid in the Bronx, tasting different curries and chutneys based on my mom replicating those recipes. And then you marry that forward to the travel, going and eating native cuisines in Southeast Asia, New Zealand, Australia, Greece, Europe, different countries throughout South America. It was just a beautiful experience. And how that shapes me now was that gave me a very distinct love for experiencing other people's cultures.
But that is so true. The things that you recall from your childhood and your adolescence stick with you, and you end up wanting to either eat them, replicate them, or hope somebody would cook them for you.
Absolutely, and actually, what we're cooking today it's a memory from both my parents. So the meat, the breaded steak.
Okay.
And my mom would go pick him up after his shift at about 3:30 in the morning. He would go to this place that would do a Bistec Empanizado, a breaded steak with tostones and a little vinaigrette salad. And I lived to get a bite or two out of that. And then the tomato salad was something that my mom just kind of conjured up one day, and it's become a staple throughout generations now,
right.
Where my kids are making it. It just stuck from that point forward.
That's great. So talk a little bit about your education background.
So academically, I had started off in computer science. I had literally gotten my first job in IT the Monday after the Friday in graduating high school. I did something really sexy called being an input-output clerk, where I ran reports in the wee hours, off hours.
Using punch cards?
I had to put a deck of punch cards to run reports, and I had to decollate. It's another word that's fallen out of the vocabulary. I had to decollate those reports and distribute them for the executives coming in the next morning. But I progressively worked up through computer operations and into systems programming while I was pursuing my undergraduate in computer science. I then academically had dropped out because we, found out we were going to be parents. And I eventually got back, finished that, and finished another degree in organizational management. I've picked up multiple certifications over that course of time.
In the early 2000s, you started working or in the talent acquisition field and had a series of jobs, and you had eventually ended up here. So talk about your career progression and how it led you here to Milwaukee.
Sure, absolutely. The majority of my career I spent in the global outsourced services business vertical. I consulted with organizations like IBM Global and Accenture, KPMG, and then professionally I worked for Siemens, a German multinational.
Sure.
And specifically for the IT software and outsourced services company of Siemens. That gave me really an inroad into true talent acquisition, because when 85% of your staff are billable resources, talent acquisition becomes a profit center.
Right.
Because every time that there's a vacancy on a team, let's say, we'd have 5,000 people at Morgan Stanley for one campus location itself. And the client for those vacancies would be able to charge back and receive a refund for every empty seat.
Right.
So everybody, all those VPs whose very big bonuses depended on having a good P&L, looked at talent acquisition and human resources as a profit center. And that kind of formed my outlook and philosophy towards what I do, is that everything in the organization ties back to how well you recruit, how well you brand and market that culture. Your cultural values get people on board. Because at the end of the day, when a candidate is looking at a couple different sources, they're going to want to work for where they feel their values are respected and that they're respected. So that's a big part of how I see talent acquisition, and that's a big part of where and why I came to Milwaukee County. The opportunity in Milwaukee County when I got recruited into it was to kind of set that standard and put industry best practice in place,
Right.
where your recruitment, talent acquisition, and your employee development are kind of front and center.
Right. So you're, as we mentioned in the opening, you're the director of HR operations for Milwaukee County, learning development and talent acquisition. So that's all ball of wax. So talk about the type of work the things you've instituted, the work that's being done, and how that's not only had a positive effect on the employees in the county, but also in the greater scope of things here in the Milwaukee area.
Oh, absolutely. When I first came to the county, I had a little bit of a culture shock because I had a very well sharpened definition of what a recruiter is. And recruitment at Milwaukee County, or really any public sector entity, wasn't that. So I set about looking at migrating our recruitment focus from being back office reactionary, kind of that post and pray mentality, to active sourcing to being an active.
I'm laughing because that's exactly what was called for a post and pray. I hope somebody enters the ad.
That's
Right.
it. I remember asking for a metrics report, and time to fill was 7 months, 8 months, and I was like, and the second thought that came to mind is nobody's screaming about this. I would have been roasted
Right.
if I had a 7 month time to fill in my prior life. But we set about reconfiguring the recruiting function into a true talent acquisition function that does broad outreach search, that does sourcing, that does community involvement and participation, and actually is physically in the community, engaging with people. The L&D function, I switched over to being more organizational development focused, where we looked at what we already have, and with the thought in mind that if we maximize our people who've already raised their hand and said, I want to join this mission,
Right.
if we maximize them and give them the opportunity to learn, to get coursework under their belt, to teach them how to be managers so that when opportunities open, they could just slide into them, and coach them and develop them. Implemented a pretty robust management development program, leadership excellence programs, teaching people to counteract the Peter principle.
So you do a lot of work in the community and mentorship work. So talk a little bit about that. It's an area that it goes unmentioned, and it's in many ways it's not appreciated as much. But I know that you're involved with it. So talk a little bit about the work there.
Yeah, it's a passion of mine. I just philosophically have the point of view that if you're blessed with having a sound, upbringing and have world exposure, you could share that with people in order to get them through rough spots. We all suffer from imposter syndrome, one of the catchphrases of today. Decades ago is just, fake it until you make it,
Right.
type of thing. But now it's a bit more well-defined. Mentoring helps people through those rough patches of self-doubt. And for me, the organizations that I'm on boards with in Milwaukee, IC Stars, which stands for Inner City Stars, is an intense technology development boot camp, where it takes people primarily from underserved communities around Milwaukee,
Right.
and puts them on a path of being a technologist. So people are experiencing life-changing growth where they're going from maybe a $15 an hour factory or warehouse job into being a $65,000 a year developer to start,
Right.
and then progressing up to six-figure opportunities. And part of that program is very much focused on people developing business acumen and how to interact and speak in a business context. Other organizations that I belong to, Perscolis, formerly DeVry, and an organization called PCH, all have those same kind of core components where it's taking people, giving them real upskilling in terms of a professional career, but also focusing on this is how you play nice in the sandbox in the workplace. I'm really excited that Milwaukee County is on the cusp of implementing formal mentoring programs to our workforce. We have things called ERGs, Employee Resource Groups,
Okay.
that are going to be spearheading mentoring. Also within L&D, we're going to be spearheading a mentoring program that's more tech focused, meaning that when somebody wants to progress their career, we're going to talk about and define job shadowing opportunities.
Good. In the county or
Within the county,
Okay.
where those people are at this for argument's sake, at this tier 1 support level, and they want to get to tier 4. We give and set up and teach departments, or will be, how do you shadow? How do you build a shadowing? How do you set time apart where that individual can engage with folks who are doing that job and get that day in the life experience?
Well, one thing you kind of touched on, and I think is a good thing. I do a lot of work with the MPS here. We do mock interviews with kids, and what's very evident is not only in public schools, but I think all over, the soft skills are not taught. They're not, how to look someone in the eye and shake hands and form a complete sentence when you're talking to somebody. So teaching the soft skills, which you were alluded to, how to play nice in the sandbox and that type of thing, they're very important, because I don't think they're actually taught in schools. The schools are more like, get them through, get them to the next level, and they're not worried about critical thinking. You're not worried about the skills that are necessary for you to be a success in the workplace. Anyway, so that's enough of my soapbox.
Well, I think it all fell apart when they stopped teaching cursive.
Oh yeah, there's not a kid under 30 who knows what cursive is. Maybe not even under 40. So you and I had another point of intersection is we're both East Coast guys.
Yep.
You're a New Yorker, I'm a DC guy. And we both lived in the big city for the majority of our adult lives before. I was in Cincinnati for a while, so it's similar, but I've been here about 13 years. So talk a little bit about the, not culture shock, because that's not really true, but the difference between living in a large metropolitan area and then moving and assimilating into a mid-size, Midwestern city which does have a lot of stuff, but it ain't New York.
Right. I've kind of the phraseology I coined is Milwaukee's a very suburban city. I'm still amazed at the dependence on driving a car versus mass commuting.
Right.
When you go to D.C., and I consulted down in Arlington, Virginia, right before joining Siemens, and I loved it. I was down in Arlington, Virginia. It was for a period of time once a week. And it was so easy for me to go to Penn Station,
Right.
jump on Amtrak,
Go to Union
which
Station.
would leave me down into the metro,
Right.
the first station of the metro in D.C., and really never have to come above ground.
Right.
And I was so surprised at the cleanliness of the metro stations coming from New York City subways, and how there's carpet in the cars. That really blew my mind. But where the kind of culture shock thing for Milwaukee for me was kind of density. Because when they brought me out for my interview, and we went out to lunch over at Mater's. Shout out to Mater's. Love their liver dumpling soup.
Not sure I've ever had that.
It's basically a matzo ball, but it's liver, and it's one of my colleagues recommended it to me, and I've been meaning to go back for that.
I might have to check that out. I've never thought about that, but it sounds interesting. Okay.
And the potato pancakes are served with maple syrup,
Of course.
which was a first for me as well. So we went to lunch, and then we drove around, and I distinctly remember it was a Tuesday, and we were driving around downtown, and
You didn't stop at a light?
I
No
said,
traffic jams?
Is today a holiday? Is there a specific Midwestern holiday that's going on today? It's like, no. I'm used to seeing lunchtime in Manhattan be crazy with a food truck culture and, people running into bodegas for ham, egg, and cheese on a Kaiser.
Right.
Those kinds of things. Bacon, egg, and cheese on a Kaiser. But that was kind of the initial shock. And then when we went by the water tower, by the hospital, and went down that hill there, and I remember seeing the gradient color of the lake, much like the Caribbean, and there was some sort of tanker ship. And again, not realizing scale, being a New Yorker, I was like, wow, this is an ocean.
Right.
You know, and then we drove by the volleyball courts with the
Bradford Beach.
with the tiki bar.
Right.
I was like, what is this? What is this magic I'm looking at here?
It's Milwaukee.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. So, what are we preparing today?
So today we are making what almost every culture has, which is a cutlet, a breaded. Today we're using sirloin. It's Bistec Empanizado, which is a breaded steak. And we're doing it with my mom's tomato and scallion salad as a side dish and some avocado. This meal is coming together as a ketogenic meal.
Right.
For me personally, I've been on the keto diet for a bit of time now. It's 65, 70 pounds are in the rearview mirror. And it's an adaptation that's kind of brought back my love of cooking. Because there are certain tastes that are just non-negotiable. And when you go to ketogenics or a paleo diet, you have to make accommodations and you have to do a bit of mad scientist chemistry to approximate what the regular meal tastes like. This one's pretty successful in the sense of swapping out the high carbohydrate breading, which is typically soda crackers, with grated cheese and crushed pork rinds.
All right. So, we've done a little prep work. We're going to come back here and we're going to marinate the steak. We're going to make our breading, which is pork rinds and cheese. Put the salad together, fry the steaks, and then I think we're going to have to eat them.
Absolutely.
Well, I haven't had breakfast. How about you?
Just coffee.
All right, so we're going to be having steak for breakfast. All right, give us a check to get set up. We'll be right back. All right, Genaro's got his apron on, this new one, Vanna White. So we're going to go ahead and start with the marinade here.
Yeah.
So Genaro, take it away.
Yeah, this has a marinade that has bitter orange in it, but bitter orange is like hen's teeth, outside of very ethnic markets.
Right.
And a way to approximate that is to mix some vinegar with some lemon or lime to give you that same sort of effect.
Okay.
So right now we have about a clove of garlic in there.
And you smashed that and mashed it into a paste.
I did. I mashed it into a paste.
Okay.
We're going to pour some vinegar to get started.
Okay.
I think that's about 1/8 of a cup.
Okay.
Okay.
Your eyes are better than mine because you're much younger. All right.
Well, trust me, all that screen time from the pandemic is wrecking my eyesight.
All right, so we're going to put in a couple of lemons for lemon juice for the acid.
Right. So the vinegar and the lemon juice approximating that bitter orange.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So we have the vinegar, lemon juice, garlic. We're going to add a little bit of adobo,
Okay.
eyeballing, and then what holds it together is the olive oil.
Okay.
So we're going to put about roughly a 1/4 cup of olive oil in there. Yeah, 1/4 cup. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Just pulling out the 1/2 cup.
So 1/4 cup of olive oil, and we've got roughly the same amount of lemon juice.
Yep, the acidics and the olive oil go in 50-50.
Okay.
I'd say about a tablespoon of adobo.
Okay.
And just eyeballing with the oregano. All right. Give that a mix.
All right, so we're mixing up the marinades. So we're gonna put the steaks in. So we did pound a few out before, but we want to get them nice and tender. So we're gonna pound them down the side. They're cut very thinly. All right, so we're gonna just pound out a couple of them, and then put them in the marinade.
Yeah, so we have some nice sirloin cut very thin, just to make them a little bit thinner, and grabbing of the coating. Give it a flip.
And we did trim these slightly, but you don't want to take all the marbling out of a steak. So we're feeding a crowd today. Genaro and I are not going to eat all 8 of these.
We're gonna try.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, then never mind. All right. All right. Put these into the marinade, and as they sit and get a little flavor, we'll prepare the next part. Will be the salad. Now, do we put this in the fridge or we let them sit out?
I typically put them in the fridge for a little while.
Okay.
And you could do this, 4 hours ahead or shortly ahead. It's gonna carry over the flavor pretty well. There you go.
All right, well, we'll put that in the fridge, and we'll move on to the salad and be right back. All right, so we moved over here, and we're going to put the salad together.
Yeah, so this is a tomato and green onion salad that's actually my mom's invention. So it starts out by taking some garlic and just putting a little bit of a mash on that. You could do that with a mortar and pestle, or with your knife blade. Just take a little bit of salt as the grist on there, and take your blade and press down and drag. And what that does is it just gives you a nice little garlic paste that's going to mix better in your dressing, so you get that flavor throughout every bite.
So yeah, that's probably about a clove or so that we chopped, and put the salt in to help make the mash as you're putting on the side of the knife. All right, it's going to go in the bowl here. We'll make the dressing.
Now, to counteract the acidity, it's nice to take some honey. And I did mention that this was a ketogenic diet type recipe, but that amount of honey throughout the totality of the dish is going to be negligible for you.
It's keto friendly.
Keto, definitely keto adjacent.
Adjacent, good word.
And now putting in the vinegar. As a little trick, I like putting in the vinegar and everything prior to putting in the oil, because it just helps it to mix a little bit better.
So the honey, vinegar, and garlic so far.
And then you start putting in your oil.
Emulsifying the dressing as we put in the oil.
All right, it needs just a little bit more vinegar.
All right.
So now I'm just going to put in, this is roughly about 2 bunches of chopped scallion or green onion, and roughly about 2 tomatoes on here.
I might have put 3 in.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to find good tomatoes in Wisconsin in January.
I know.
I got a couple of heirloom tomatoes which work just fine. Oh, wow.
And I just start mixing this in first to make sure everybody has a swim buddy, so to speak, before I put the dressing on there.
So pretty simple, pretty basic. Green onions and tomatoes, and then a pretty simple dressing will go on to lightly dress it.
Yeah, and pretty much when all this is, necessity, the mother of invention.
Right.
When my kids were small growing up, I did 90% of the cooking. So getting a good meal on the table that wasn't prepackaged food was always my goal, and to get it on there quick.
You're singing my song. You learn the shortcuts, learn how to put tasty food on the table, but not break the bank, and make sure it tastes good so you can eat it too.
That's it, absolutely.
So we just got about the salad just about finished, and we're going to put this in the fridge too.
This I actually like to leave out.
All right, we'll leave this a little set.
Keep it room temperature.
Good.
That's a preference for me. I know some people are great with cold salads. That always drove me nuts. Like going to a steakhouse and having an iceberg wedge with the Roquefort and blue cheese, and it has ice particles in it. That's crazy.
All right.
All right, so it's all incorporated. And this is kind of the level of dressing you want on it, because you don't want it just swimming. The tomatoes, of course, are going to put out a lot of natural juice there.
You're singing my wife's song.
So you want to enjoy
Lightly
that.
dressed.
You want to taste the food that you're making,
Absolutely.
not things that cover it up.
Okay. So now we're moving on to the breading.
Yes.
All right. Well, let us set that up. Be right back. All right. We're going to make the breading, or the topping, whatever we're going to call it, the covering. It's not actually bread.
It's one of those pleasures of the ketogenic diet for me, where it allows me to be kind of a mad scientist again in the kitchen, where you're trying to approximate those very carbohydrate intense items for something that is very low carb, or in this case, zero carbohydrate,
Right.
that fits within the ketogenic diet. So we're taking some plain, queso pork rinds, and just
I thought that was the brand name, but now that I think about it, no, it's not.
Let's see. Good stuff. And some grated Parmesan cheese.
Okay. I'm just approximating.
And I'm just going to pulse this till it's nice and fine.
There you go. Snapped into place.
Just take a look. Fine
right.
chop.
So we'll set up our breading station, and then we'll get the steaks out, and then we'll be right back. All right, here we are with the breading. We've got our pork rind cheese mixture. We've got eggs ready to beat, and there's the thinly sliced bistec ready to roll. So, Genaro?
Yeah, and again, this is a ketogenic version. If you were doing it with a different breadcrumb, a panko, or crushed soda crackers, unsalted soda crackers, you'd have more of your traditional station of flour, egg, breading. But again, keto, you could skip the flour, and you're still going to get a great crispy product out of here. So we're going to mix up our eggs.
Beat them because they've been bad. And with the oil on the meat, you're still going to get a nice coating, whether
Absolutely.
or not you're... All righty.
So go egg.
Into the egg. Both sides. And I'll adhere to the... I have some cooking gloves if you want to use them.
No, I'm good actually. I'm going to put this on the coating, get a good press in there, and flip it.
All right.
Do the same.
And I'm put it on a... Got a tray over here. This little foil. So we're gonna one more into the egg, and then into the pork rind cheese coating, and then onto the tray. So we'll put these together, and then we'll get ready to fry them. All right, ready to start frying. Here's the breaded steaks. So we've got our nice. You can hear the little sizzle. All right.
They go quick, so I'll just do two at a time.
All right. So how much on each side would you say?
I'll just, I go by look.
So you can see they're starting on the edges, starting to get more done. Okay. And then we've got some accoutrement to go with it. We've got some sliced avocado, got some red onion, and then a little parsley on top to make it look pretty.
And it's, frying food is one of those great techniques because it actually talks to you. You can start to hear when things are getting done on a side just by the sound.
Oh, that's looking great. All right, so that was not more than much more than a minute and a half. You got the temperature up using an instant read thermometer to 350 plus, and Genaro's trying hard not to toast his fingers on the pan.
Yeah, that's one of the things about working in the kitchen. You learn early. Grab everything with a towel.
So because we pounded them and gave them a nice marinade, these things will cook quickly, and I'm sure they'll be delicious. All right, so we'll finish up here, and we'll head over to the table, and we'll be right back. All right, here we are. And I have to tell you, I can't wait to eat this. So, Genaro, tell us what we got here.
So what we have is ketogenic Bistec Empanizado, breaded steak with avocado and a scallion and tomato vinaigrette salad.
All right, so we need to get a little bit of the salad. So why don't you go ahead and let me show the salad. I think you guys saw it. Nice fresh tomatoes, a little dressing on it. We'll have the recipe down below.
Let me serve it.
Grazie. Or gracias.
It works.
Grazie. I can't stop saying it in Italian. Look at look at the full plate. It's just beautiful. It's very colorful and flavorful, and soon to be devoured. Alrighty, Genaro.
That's the best part.
Alrighty. Oh, I'm going to put just a teeny bit of lime on. I got a little lime.
Can't forget the lime on the steak.
Yeah. Alrighty. Very thin, so they cook quickly. Have your mom's salad. This is a perfect salad. This is good. I mean, you can find the tomatoes. This is good any time of the year.
And it's one of the things I learned in my mom's kitchen. You get things that play off of each other. The acidity of the salad with the fried meat really plays nice.
I'll put a little avocado on this. Wow. It's a hearty breakfast.
I think if an establishment had this on the breakfast menu, it would change their business model.
It works. It's great.
That's been one of the things again that I've really enjoyed about the ketogenic diet. It's reawakened my love of cooking because you have to really think outside of the box. Because who would have thought you crush pork rinds?
Right.
And you use that as breading because you can't have regular bread. And it's really, made me think about the balance of flavors and how they play off of each other and textures. So it's been a lot of fun. Besides getting healthy, if you have that mad scientist type of thing that you love.
Well, it's as long as you stick to it, it works. I know people that have done it, and there's some that go overboard. And I like the keto adjacent, keto friendly, as opposed to I'm only eating 10 carbs a day. So, I'm not having that. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you so much for having me,
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
It's great. Great work being done here in the community. And Genaro is within the division that he runs for the county government, is trying to affect change both inside and in the community at large. So we do appreciate that. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please check us out next time on Milwaukee Community Leaders. Please like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders. Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders is brought to you by Cooking Secrets for Men, LLC, and was recorded in the 3rd Ward in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We feature and profile community leaders who are trying to make Milwaukee a better place. The tagline is, serious people with serious jobs having a little fun. Our guests choose the recipes that we use on the show. All of our podcasts are available on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get great podcasts. The original YouTube video for this episode is available on our YouTube channel, Cooking Secrets for Men, all rights reserved. Thanks, and see you next time on Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders.